Alright, hey folks, I'm back. I'm going to be doing another commentary for you all. And this is going to be North American Regionals, the quarterfinal game 1 between TSM and NME. This game was played, I believe, is the first game of the NA Regionals at PAX. TSM is definitely favorites to win this match, as well as the tournament, in my opinion. Although I don't know the outcome of the tournament as of yet. Just a couple disclaimers before we start. This video is, I just found a random rebroadcast of the stream on YouTube, so I don't control the camera. The reason that I'm rebroadcasting over the official stream is that I find the official stream tends to focus a lot more on what's happening and telling you what's going on rather than telling you why it's happening and doing sort of strategic analysis of the game, which is what I'm much more interested in. So we're going to be hopefully going a little more in depth than they did in the official stream. We're about halfway through the picks and ban phase. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a recording that started earlier, so we're just going to talk about the bans momentarily. I don't control the camera throughout this game, but I hope to focus a lot on the bottom lane, because the reason I chose this game, and the reason I think it'll be a good match, is I always love watching TSM just because their play is so strong. And I also really enjoy watching Muffinqt and Aphromoo on NME, because I think they're just the most fun bot duo pair in the game right now in the competitive scene. They just play so aggressively, and the team strategy is so focused around getting Aphromoo strong. So hopefully there will be sparks flying in bottom lane. Just to introduce the players, we have, I mean, most people know this already, but on TSM we have Chaox, who plays AD carry, Xpecial, who plays support, TheOddOne is the jungler, Dyrus is their top laner, and Reginald is their mid laner. And on NME we have Mandatory Cloud, who plays mid lane, Muffinqt, who plays support, Xmithie, who plays jungler, Aphromoo, who plays AD carry, and Balls, who plays top solo. The bans look fairly standard right now. The only ban that I would point out is Kale, who's been seeing a lot of banning lately in very recent high-level play. Just because she is such a strong laner, gives you a second AD carry, can be put in like any lane, like you can run Kale literally anywhere. She's actually can perform all 5 roles with varying levels of success, but mostly just because she lets you go on these all-in strategies. So I'm pretty happy to see Enemy ban this out, because Reginald really likes these all-in APs like Kassadin and Cassiopeia, APs, Karthus and stuff, APs that just like get in people's faces. And Kale ultimate is obviously very strong with those AP carries, just lets them get their full rotation off always. The other targeted ban I think is Vladimir. Dyrus has been playing a lot of Vladimir. He plays a very strong Vladimir. First pick goes to TSM, and I'm actually surprised that Shen was left in the pool. Shen in high-level play just gives you so many options. It makes it very hard for the other team to play aggressively elsewhere on the map. So, obviously, snapping up the Shen there is a pretty good pick. The way to beat Shen usually is to focus a lot of ganks and just shut him down top lane, pick an aggressive carry top laner, and just win the game by snowballing your top lane against the Shen. So we'll see how Enemy wants to play it. I don't know if that's their usual focus, since they're such a bot lane oriented team. We're also seeing Maokai and Nunu being picked up, and one thing that I want to point out is that TheOddOne loves to play those in the jungle. So we'll see Maokai in the jungle and Nunu support. Muffinqt plays a very good Nunu support, and both of these heroes are good at defensive protect the carry strategies, which I'm sure is what we're going to be seeing from Enemy. Sona and Corki just makes a very strong bot lane, and we're just going to start the camera and see what Enemy wants to pick up next. I'm not at all surprised to see Sona and Corki be picked up there. A lot of disable, a lot of AoE damage. So, what I would like to see, I think probably you need a hero that can go toe-to-toe with the Corki. So I expect they're going to pick an AD carry and try to force TSM to pick their mid lane, and then they can counter mid, or they're going to save top lane for last in order to not give Reginald the mid he wants. And that's, I guess, what's going to happen as they're picking up Morgana. And yeah, Graves is a pretty good pickup. Oh, it switched over to Anivia. So Graves is a pretty good pickup against Sona Corki just because he can stand toe-to-toe with them and do battle. And Anivia is a very strong protective AP solo. So once again, everything is just centering around defending Aphromoo. I expect that LeBlanc... I don't know if we're seeing LeBlanc or Kassadin, but I expect one of those two. Playing very aggressive lanes against the Anivia is good. And Shyvana jungle makes a lot of sense here because they can clear fast. I would expect to see something like an Irelia coming out from balls. Oh, okay, so we locked a Morgana pick. Morgana versus Anivia means that they're just planning to trade farm there and expect to win the late game, and I think they probably will with Shen and Shyvana both being very strong late game heroes. Although, if Aphromoo gets strong, that Nunu Blood Boil and the Ice Wall to block for him makes Graves a really powerful force in the late game. My guess is we're going to be seeing an Irelia pick coming out from mMe. Other than that, I would say something along the lines of probably not a Riven because she's not great against Shen. But you want one of those junglers that scales very well. So yeah, it looks like it's going to be Irelia. No, top laners, not junglers. That scales very well. So here we go. We'll just wait and see if they lock, and then I'll skip forward to where the game actually starts. Because I don't really care. They're going to pan across the teams and everything, but we're not that interested in that. So yeah, that's it. In terms of everyone's playing what I expect them to be playing. Haven't done any swaps over here on TSM yet, but I assume we're going to see some swaps soon. The no weird summoners that I can see is going to be Flash Ignite on the Shen, Flash Ignite on the Corki, Flash Ignite on the Morgana. So yeah, I think we're just ready to jump right into the game. I'm gonna fast forward past the talking heads. Just real quick, checking item builds. Nothing is strange. Very standard support builds coming out from both supports, and boot pots from everyone else is the only build for most heroes. Becoming even more popular on junglers now, just overtaking Cloth 5 because you want to get those fast jungle ganks out. So just seeing boots pots on pretty much everyone. Looks like we're shaping up for an engage. Chaox is cut off, so Aphromoo is cut off, so enemy definitely can't engage on this yet. It looks like they might actually catch Graves here. Commentators not watching that taunt. Taunt was missed, so looks like everyone's just gonna back off. They had to run through a sapling to get towards Graves and a ward, so I don't think they were going to get anything done there, but if Dyrus had hit that, TheOddOne popping that health potion while at full health, that seems, or like nearly full health, that seems like a mistake. That was a waste of a health potion, I think. So I mean, it's not like super important for you to keep your health potions on the junglers, but being down to 2 potions could come back to sting him. Just got Chaox heading bot. Enemies still in very defensive positions, so both teams just jockeying a bit. Looks like they're gonna try to disrupt the blue, but I don't think they can do much here. It's 4v3 because they sent Shyvana back to their own blue. They're sort of hoping that enemy doesn't notice that, because they could have gone for a hard engage there. They know it's sapling and not root from Maokai though, so it's not the worst. But if Anivia had hit an ice ball, It's actually interesting that enemy are not engaging on this at all. Yeah, so there's a good stun from Anivia, hits all three people. Bit of stream lag coming out here, but Xpecial's gonna go down. Reginald may well fall also, if Mancloud has another Ice Blast. But he misses it, unfortunately. Good dodge by Reginald, just steps just the right amount of distance out. Still, that's pretty good. They got a first blood up on Anivia. That's gonna set their mid lane way ahead. OddOne doing some counter jungling, just taking the big golem there. Dyrus bullying balls around a bit. And we're going to see Anivia just CSing under tower, as she is very good at that, while OddOne roams the jungle, because as Shyvana, if you're not stealing the opponent's jungle, you're not doing anything. And already bottom lane snowballing pretty, no pun intended, pretty heavily in favor of NME, just because of the engage, let them get level 2 first, let them get into position better. So they put a lot of damage on Chaox. Muffinqt gonna spend some mana just harassing the Xpecial a bit. Aphromoo could probably have gotten another 2 shots on Xpecial there, but chose not to. I'm actually interested about that. And missing that buckshot's gonna hurt them a bit. But already just a pretty commanding CS lead. It's 18 on Graves to 5 on Corki. So things are looking good for NME here. They're probably going to need some TSM's probably going to need some jungle pressure in order to reset this bot lane back in their favor. Meanwhile, the top lane is, I suspect, fairly in Shen's favor. They're going to need a gank from Maokai on that Shen, but Anivia's out of mana, so probably won't even be able to make anything happen there. Nothing major that has deviated from plan so far. Just a slight lead for NME. Chaox catching up a bit in CS, hit most of those under the turret. That's one thing that differentiates good AD carry supports from amazing AD carry supports, is the ability to coordinate your last hitting under turret. If you had no support, you'd miss like at least half of those creeps when they hit the turret. And if you had a bad support, you'd probably miss more than half of those creeps. But Chaox actually got almost all of them because Xpecial knew exactly when to hit the creeps to time with the turret so they could get all the last hits. Morgana actually bullying Anivia around a bit. Wow, that was a that binding. Oh, the dodge was pretty cute by Chaox there, but they're just so far behind top lane and in the jungle that even though they're between 2 turrets, OddOne and Anivia can't collapse on, or Maokai and Irelia, excuse me for not being able to talk, cannot collapse on Shyvana and Shen there and prevent those golems. An exhaust going out, I don't know, I think that was a bit of a premature exhaust by Muffinqt. It will send Chaox back though, and they'll be able to push this lane in. Probably cost him even more CS. Just, like I said, very aggressive play, so they're going to build up a commanding CS lead if nothing changes, because they're parlaying that early advantage into huge advantages by engaging very aggressively. Massive counter jungling though coming out from TSM. That's going to set Maokai way behind. He's already not the fastest jungler in the world and pretty reliant on putting some early pressure on his lanes. Hasn't really been able to do that because mid lane and top lane have been out of mana the whole game and unable to receive ganks. That's one thing that's very hard to do when you're using your mana to CS, is maintain mana so that you can contribute in a gank. Looks like they're going to go for Dyrus here, but he's just backing off. Didn't have a ward, just good map sense. Just pushing the lane in and then hiding in the brush. Once again, so Irelia has gone double null magic mantle. The YouTube bar is covering that, but You can see the double null magic mantle down there. Kind of cute against Shen, does prevent a lot of the dagger harass from going through. May help get kills later on. And obviously that's going to build into Merc Treads and a Wit's End or something along those lines. Or like a Guardian Angel and a Wit's End. But those are just very common items on Irelia. Irelia actually keeping up quite well in CS, although spending mana to do it. In fact, 2 ahead of Shen right now. But mainly, the main thing is the 20 CS lead for Aphromoo over Chaox is, despite Aphro not having shopped, they're still winning these fights just because of the lane positioning and level advantage. And when he shops, I feel like this lane's going to get really hard for TSM. Mid lane also very even. Slight CS lead for Morgana, which is sort of to be expected before Anivia gets 6. But Anivia has a kill, so things will be working out. For some reason I'm losing track of what I'm saying more often than I usually do. I apologize for that. We have Aphro still not having shopped, has a big pile of gold in the bank. Could just go buy like attack speeds and a BF sword after this wave probably, or pretty close. I expect he's going to go something like Thorin lifesteal attack speed boots, pickaxe maybe, but we'll have to see. Looks like they're heading to shop now. Or just standing under the turret. One thing that I want to talk about was how much NME invested in taking that blue for Anivia. They sent their bot lane and their mid lane and their jungler all to the blue buff, unopposed, whereas the blue buff on Morgana was got with only the time investment of 2 people. So that actually, like, during that time, Chaox caught up by about 10 CS. And of course, that's gonna cause problems. So Graves just went a straight BF sword with some pots. That's gonna give him a lot of damage, and it's gonna be able to put a lot of pain on Xpecial here. Throwing out that ignite and an ult from Shen, but Corki's not in the area. I actually don't know if that was a necessary flash by Aphromoo, because Corki wasn't around, but they may not have had a way of knowing that. I couldn't tell. Almost cancelled the blue pill on Shen, but wasn't quite able to. That was actually quite poorly timed by Aphromoo. He should have been counting the seconds better. May have not. Shen may be running improved recall, which would throw off his timing a bit. But you should really hit that when you're going to try that, because you have to get that blue pill cancel and get that advantage top lane, which is what the point of that maneuver was. CS is evened out mid lane, because Anivia is 6, has a catalyst, infinite mana, can just take wraiths, can just clear waves all the time. Still a significant lead for bot lane, very even for Shen and Anivia, or Irelia, I keep saying Anivia. Shen, the thing about that though is that Irelia carries harder, so an even CS is pretty good for them, and Shen hasn't really been able to make his ult super relevant so far this game. He needs to do something sometime within the next 10 minutes, get a couple turnaround kills, because that's when Shen really excels, is between the 10 and like 25 minute mark during the mid game before the real team fight phase can happen. We're just getting a bunch of trades happening bottom lane. Aphromoo went and bought attack speed boots. They're just much stronger than Corki Sona right now. This is Nunu Graves lane, so they should be trying to force trades very often, which is exactly what they're doing. No ignite or flash on Graves, which is why they're playing slightly more passively than they'd probably like to. And with Shyvana coming in, they're just going to back up. Shyvana is one of those junglers that she really needs a good gank path in order to have a successful gank. If you see her in backup, she just can't do anything because she has no real way of slowing you down, except if she has red buff or something, which she did not there. That's one reason a lot of Shyvanas like to go Phage into Frozen Mallet, just because it lets you get those lucky Phage procs and have a little more impact in a ganking situation. Morgana has got the needlessly large rod, but Anivia has finished the Rod of Ages, so that's a pretty big deal. That's a fairly early Rod of Ages. Usually expect it, it's not that early. You expect it somewhere between 12 and 14, and we're right on the 13-minute mark. So that's a pretty good one. There's a lot of just general movement. So far, nothing weird has happened this game. I kind of wonder if both teams are saving their odd strategies for later, or if they've just decided that each of them believes they could just beat the other by playing very cautiously and very standard. Only one kill has gone out so far, but the gold lead from that kill has been evened out completely. We're at 16.2 to 16.2. So this game is shaping up to be a good one because of how incredibly even it is. Major items finished are so far only Sunfire on Shen, Rod on Anivia, and Wit's End on Irelia. The Wit's End is going to be pretty good because it's going to help against the Sunfire. Mandatory Cloud bullying Reginald around a bit there, but he just doesn't have the mana to capitalize on that slight advantage he gained. Did dodge the binding though. But Reginald will just be able to pool up. See Maokai in the neighborhood of top lane. Maokai basically hasn't ganked this game. Has the one assist from the first blood, but that's it. I'm a little confused by that. You would think he would gank at least bottom lane, maybe like a lane gank, because excuse me. If a Maokai doesn't gank, then he sort of loses a lot of ground late game. He's not an awful hero late game, but not the best hero either. Big engage happening bottom, but both teams just gonna back off. Oh, the interrupt on the dragon form, and TheOddOne's going to escape because Maokai didn't want to chase into Morgana. I actually thought for sure that TheOddOne was going to go down after the interrupt on the dragon form. He tried to jump over the wall to Baron Pit, but hit the wall. Couldn't tell exactly if he hit the wall there or was stunned out by the Anivia Ice Ball at exactly the right moment, but I think he just hit the wall, tried to jump at a bad spot. Actually, one interesting thing is that because I feel that enemies bottom lane have not been playing as aggressively as they usually do, or as perhaps they should, and have been pressured once by Shyvana and gotten nothing from Maokai. Corki's actually dead even with CS on the Graves right now. So I feel like that was an advantage that they had that they gave up, and they're just letting TSM's bot lane grind their way back into the game. No one plays mechanically like Chaox. I feel, is not the most inspired player, but he's just so brilliant mechanically that it doesn't matter if he makes the amazing plays, because he just does everything well. And that's telling here because it's just showing that he's gaining his CS lead back just by having perfect mechanics. As I was talking about earlier, hitting every CS under turret, working really well with your support, and so on. Balls actually went down to cut the wave off, I guess, but then decided not to. Took a lot of damage from Shen. And the stream has blacked out. So hopefully that lag clears up in a moment. I'm gonna Oop. Alright, so we're getting some technical issues here. Bear with me a second. I'm going to try to find the... Okay. So... Yep. Full screen it again, thanks. We didn't miss any kills. We didn't miss a dragon. Looks like no time actually passed between those, because the CS is still about the same. But here we go. TSM is going for a dragon, so we're going to see probably the first big play of this game. Nice binding catch on Xmithie, and with that Sona ult, there's going to be 2 kills for Morgana. Beautiful binding there. Just Xmithie out of position, walking into the ward. I'm not sure what that was all about. They didn't have vision on the dragon, though, so I guess they might not have known that Morgana was down there. But I felt that they should have definitely considered that he might be. I don't know how much poke they can do here, even. Very late attempted ult steal by Aphromoo. Just slightly late on those ults. He was late earlier on the Shen, on the blue pill cancel on the Shen as well. Not the perfect timing that you'd expect from these high-level players. So now we're actually seeing Chaox be taking a CS lead. TSM took the first dragon, got a double kill on Morgana. That's huge. Morgana has finished out her Zhonya's. Not sure what Shen's going for next. It might be a Wit's End. Irelia is going for a Triforce. Like I said at the beginning of the game, there's sort of a conflict here for enemy because they're so used to putting all their eggs in the bottom lane basket, as far as from what I understand of their play. But this team comp and this this play style, it seems like they really want to be focusing more on top lane because of how the lanes are organized. And I just don't think that having Maokai never gank has been a very useful strategy for them. Good return damage from Chaox there. I feel like Aphromoo should have turned and fought the Sona, though. I don't think Chaox could have got in time, and he could have just life leeched from his high damage there. He is a little down on items, hasn't dropped in a while though, so might want to base for like a Bloodthirster or more eye-edge components or a Zeal or something. Here in this particular situation, I think he's probably best going straight eye-edge and getting the Zeal later. Just because if you want to get the Zeal, it's usually because you're going to go into a teamfight phase right away. Whereas you can get the eye edge a little more if you're intending to keep farming for a bit. And I think they're going to keep farming for a bit. TheOddOne getting caught by the Maokai root, but just dragoning out. So nothing gonna come of that. Keeping very even CS between Shen and Irelia. So Shen's presence has made bot lane really hard for enemy, and I again feel like they should have been focusing more on shutting down the Shen, because one of the things about Shen is if you kill him, then your other lanes get a window to play very aggressively in, or even send him back to base. They missed, the commentators unfortunately missed the start of that dive, but I'm pretty sure it was just an Xpecial ulti. No exhaust used there, interestingly, actually. And then Chaox got the ignite and picked up a kill. So the bot lane is now solidly in TSM's favor. It just turned around by itself just because of the Shyvana pressure, the Morgana pressure. There was just enough pressure to give Chaox a slight lead in his CS, and that's snowballing out of control in TSM's favor, gonna cause enemy to lose their initial advantage. Graves is in deep shit here because he didn't see that Morgana had stayed around. Morgana just gonna ult, force the dash, and then get exhausted and flash out. I actually thought that Corki was going to stay in the neighborhood. He must have based just as Graves got there. So Reginald used ult, but got Nunu's exhaust. So pretty good No, and then use Flash. So pretty bad trade. But could be worse, definitely. Didn't use his Ignite, and is building towards a death cap, it looks like, which he'll get quite soon. Just clearing a couple more waves will get him the death cap, I expect. Graves, as I suggested, is building towards those edge components, although it's much harder with bot lane having gone down. Good catch on Xpecial there, but Shen's ult may save him. Nope, okay, good buckshot from Aphromoo. Cancel the Shen ult, actually, because Xpecial was going down and no one else was gonna get in. No, cancel the Shen ult, presumably by Anivia, or Irelia, fuck. So, obviously, very solid play. Must have had to ult under the turret. I wish we could have seen what actually happened there, because that Shen ult either could have been cancelled deliberately or by Irelia. I suspect by Irelia, but there's good arguments there for cancelling deliberately as well. Just because it would have put him in a really awkward situation. Highest CS in the game is currently Anivia, who went, interestingly, Chalice after Rod of Ages. Usually you go Chalice as like your first laning item if you're going to get it. But I guess just one of the MR needed some mana regen. Maybe building up towards a Holy Grail, although the numbers on that, or Unholy Grail, although the numbers on that item are not actually very good, so most people try to avoid it, because it's just not really worth the numbers. Oh, almost with the blue snipe by Reginald. Would have been pretty sick if he'd gotten that. I really like this feature here, the when the Baron and Dragon spawn next. That's new, I think, in the replays. I have not actually been, or in the observer mode. I haven't actually been watching any games in observer mode like since it came out, really. So I'm not super used to it, but that's a really cool feature. I tend to watch people's streams in first person much more often. Another jockeying for position over the dragon. I think this should be a fairly easy dragon for TSM. Shen ult is not up and won't be for another 20 seconds or so, so maybe they'll just give it up. Sorry, easy dragon for enemy, mMe. So maybe they'll just give it up. Shen ult will not be up yet. Irelia takes dragon. We're seeing Reginald get a 5-man ulti, and then Zhonya's out of it. Xmithie going down. Reginald gonna go down here soon if Aphromoo can get that last shot. Good Sona ult, and there's the Shen ult. But unfortunately for Shen, his target goes down, so beautiful team fight by mMe. Bursting down the Shen ulted target. Aphromoo is going to run for Chaox, but may get cut off by Dyrus here. I think that's probably going to happen. Yeah, and is actually screwed, ran an odd path, and is now doomed. Does dodge the taunt with that dash, but the Ignite and the damage from Corki and the daggers from Shen is just going to take him down, giving Corki yet another kill. So, with Aphromoo dying after that team fight, it's much more even than it looked. mMe did get Dragon, but Corki is now 4-0, has Triforce Bloodthirster, and is going to be just unbelievably strong. We do have most of a Zeal and an Eye-Edge finished on Graves, though. And it is an Unholy Grail on Anivia. Like I said, a lot of people try to avoid that item just because it's not, like, the numbers are not very good. It's not the most gold efficient item. So I'm actually not entirely sure why Anivia went it this game. Also looks like a Will of the Ancients coming out with that Blasting Wand Hextech Revolver, or it could just be that the Blasting Wand is for a death cap later. And I don't like that pick, because they have no other... I mean, Sure, it helps Maokai and Nunu a bit, but it's not like their top laner is a Vlad or something, where they'd want a Will of the Ancients. And I just don't think that the gold on that item, the stats on that item justify the expenditure. So hopefully what she does is sells the health pot, gets a needlessly large rod, and builds it up into a death cap. Anivia Irelia not yet finished Triforce. They need to play a game that don't have those two heroes in them because I always mix up the names. No Aegis yet on TSM, and there is an Aegis finished for mMe. So that's going to be a pretty big game, probably. I'm actually surprised. I guess TheOddOne went Wriggles first, which Xmithie did not. So he's definitely spent more gold and is certainly tankier. But getting up that early Aegis is a pretty big deal. I expect we'll see a Shirelia's come out from Sona next, as well as Nunu. A lot of damage going on Reginald there in that engagement, but mostly they're just poking back and forth. One thing that I want to draw everyone's attention to is the CS. We're at 100 a minute, more than 100 every 10 minutes, so more than 10 a minute for a mandatory cloud. The creep waves spawn 12 creeps every minute, not counting the first minute and a half. So he's actually gotten, I mean, obviously missed some creeps and made it up with wraiths and wolves and things, but he's averaging every single last hit that's possible to get from a lane. That's how these games should go. Morgana is not far behind, but when you have a wave clear like Anivia, it's just so easy to get those last hits, and he just shouldn't be missing any, and barely is. Irelia actually digressing on into armor rather than the Triforce, rather than finishing out Triforce right away. Probably a good call with Corki so strong. And I just saw an Oracles be bought and popped on mMe. I'm pretty sure it was Nunu. I just barely caught that. So that's going to give them another slight edge here. Is they're going to be the team with better vision, and they have a finished Aegis. So they might be looking to take that window for the team fight. On the other hand, Corki is just much stronger than Graves, and Shen is probably stronger than Irelia is right now, because Irelia has built a bunch of half items and not actually finished a major item in recent memory. Corki building a longsword there. That's for a Last Whisper, I guess. Yeah, it must be. I was like trying to remember what longsword built into, and then I was like, oh yeah, it builds into Last Whisper. Okay, that's what he's getting. Dyrus just bullying around Aphromoo, but not actually costing him any CS, so it doesn't really matter that much. We're seeing Graves still no Phantom Dancer, but has finished the Zeal. I expect that what should happen is a Baron engagement fairly soon, which will probably decide the game. Okay, there is an Oracles on TSM now. Xpecial got it. Aggroing the Baron there. That was an interesting one. I don't know why. Yeah, I'm actually not sure why he aggroed Baron. It's possible he was trying to trick mMe if they had vision, but I don't know. Looks like they might catch Shen out here, but he's going to be able to dash away, so they're just going to take the dragon here. I actually really don't like this positioning by mMe. I think they're in a lot of trouble here. They do get the dragon, but Muffinqt's caught out, taking a lot of damage. TheOddOne going down. Huge ults by Sona and Morgana, and that's going to be a convincing teamfight win for TSM, as everyone, Anivia will probably escape, but there's no way Irelia gets out. As soon as Dyrus gets a taunt up, she's dead. He didn't need to flash there, I don't think. Well, maybe, but I'm pretty sure he could have hit the taunt on the end there. Irelia is nigh immune to CC though, so they only had a tiny window to get that kill. But it looks like this is going to be an inhib if they push it, which they are not. I guess Anivia can just wave clear is what they're worried about. So they're just going to take that large advantage. So again, they gave up a dragon, but got a pretty convincing teamfight win. I feel that teamfight was badly chosen by mMe, just not good positioning, and so they got pincered between Shen on the one side and all of the AoE ults from TSM on the other side, and they were caught in a small area, and their Maokai ult was not enough to counteract getting a 4-man Morgana ult. Reginald has had perfect ults this game. Didn't even have to Zhonya's for that one. He just ran in and flashed onto them. And with Chaox as strong as he is, I think this game is probably over. I'm pretty sure TSM is going to take a convincing win here, just by getting small advantages and grinding them out. Although Triforce is finally finished on Irelia, but now both teams have an Aegis, so the one-sided Aegis window is gone. There is a Zeke's Herald as well on Sona, so she's way ahead of Nunu right now. Nunu has 6 assists and 28 CS, and it does have more dragon gold, but it's down a lot of tower gold. And the tower count is one thing that is just very strongly in TSM's favor right now. Xpecial has also been clearing a lot of these wards. That's an interesting little dance he was doing there, just ducking back into vision to see if a new ward had been placed. Clearly they thought that one mMe member was over the wall ready to place a ward onto the Baron after that one was counter-warded. So I was really enjoying the little dance that Xpecial was doing, minimizing the amount of time that he was in vision while maximizing the amount of time that he could see if a ward was placed. Oh, another good binding, and Xmithie's going to just drop, I think. No, flashes out. Reginald looking for an ult, but mMe just backing off. Meanwhile, Shen is split-pushing bot, though. Chaox actually quite low mana if they're going to take this engagement, so they want to be a little careful about that. Corki doesn't need a ton of mana, but it's nice for those rockets and positioning. He uses a lot of it all at once. So another good Zhonya's ulti by Reginald. Balls is probably going to be the first to take a fall if Chaos can get an attack on him there. 3-man taunt by Dyrus. Binding hits Mandatory Cloud, and they should probably just focus the Anivia. Usually when Anivia gets egged, you should just focus her. Dyrus chases down Aphromoo, and yeah, so that's it. That's 4 for 0. TheOddOne living at super low health. They focused Shyvana and Shen in that fight, and went after Reginald with his Zhonya's still active, and just weren't able to capitalize on any of those things and just got burst down. And it's the superior items and superior positioning, lots of good kiting there. Chaox is going to take down Nunu and push in bottom turret, and that's probably GG. I would not be surprised to see that called fairly soon. So yeah, this was a, I mean, it's still possible that they come back, but I don't think so. I'm pretty sure this was just a convincing Game 1 win by TSM. With Chaox at 9-0, it's just going to be so hard to come back from that. They're down 2 inhibitors. I'm admiring mMe's not giving up here, though. They have, there's definitely, you know, as long as they still think they can win it, they can still win it. There's also a lot of metagame that goes into this sort of decision at a LAN, because you want to make sure to optimize your, how tired you are versus how tired your opponents are. So, for example, mMe might feel that they play better than TSM does tired, so they might want to grind out this game as long as possible and force TSM to win it. Especially because when you know that you've lost, you can often just sort of relax and play badly, which I think is what's happening there with the Xmithie being so far out of position. You can, not just kind of relax. The resolution on these player images isn't high enough to really see, but both teams still look like they're being fairly intense about it. But one thing that a lot of high-level StarCraft players do is force the play to continue in order to make their opponent tired, because it's very easy to relax and play just pretty well and still be well enough that your opponent has to play very well, or you'll be able to capitalize on their advantage. Flash in, kills balls, misses the binding, which would have been another kill, but just getting that kill on Maokai and Irelia, they're going to take top turret. I don't know why they didn't just take top turret right away. Instead, Morgana running down, actually getting chased down by Graves. May die here. Yep. Yeah, Aphromoo able to take down Reginald, but Chaox comes in for the cleanup, and this is going to be game as soon as Xmithie goes down, and Chaox just wipes the team. So strong on Corki with those items, and they're just going to take the Nexus out. But yeah, as I was saying, a lot of strong StarCraft players will force the opponents to play it to the end in order to force them to keep microing. League of Legends is much less mechanically demanding as a game, so fatigue is less of a factor in this game, which is why we can play hour-long games. But it's still definitely a factor, especially at a long LAN tournament. And if mMe are hoping to meet them again for Game 2, then for Game 2 and 3, they may feel that they can tire them out before Game 3. So anyways, that was the game. Convincing win by TSM. Just, I feel that the main problem with that game was that Maokai was not aggressive enough with the ganks, especially top lane. They should either have tried to force a larger advantage bottom lane before Shen hit level 6, or try to bully Shen off the creep waves so that he was weak enough that they could play aggressively elsewhere in the game. They were just forced to play so passively by Shen's ultimate, which was only cast like twice, but the fact that it made them play so passively elsewhere on the map was enormous. And Irelia just never was able to get strong enough to carry because she never got an advantage in her lane. Shen's a very strong laner, and if you don't get an advantage, even though Irelia is stronger late game, she just won't outpace him enough in order to carry hard enough. And you just give up so much elsewhere on the map while you're doing that. So the fact that they chose Maokai, who's an aggressive ganking jungler, and just had him farm all game, I think cost them this match. So we'll see how they pick it up for Game 2. Anyways, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please feel free to comment, rate, and subscribe to my channel. And cheers. GG.